Korean food has become a firm favorite here in Singapore, and its drinks are gaining ground too.
Yet when most consumers think of Korean alcohol, they still picture, the very well-known soju in a green bottle. But that image apparently starting to shift, as Shin reports.
Not long ago, Korean alcohol in Singapore usually meant one of two things: soju, a rice-based spirit, or beer. But that picture is starting to widen. At this bar in Lifestyle Mall New Baru, Singaporean importer Dominic Tan is trying to introduce drinkers to a different side of Korean alcohol, starting with craft macoli, a fermented rice drink.
I think I've always been interested in macoli, but because all we got in Singapore was commercially made macoli bottles. The first time I went to Seoul and tried craft macoli for the first time in my life, it was life-changing for me.
That trip changed his palate. It also made him realize how limited the options were back home.
3 or 4 years ago, all we could get is macoli from supermarket. So just banana flavored or strawberry flavored, but not many other craft macoli. And when I say craft, I mean small batch or hand brewed.
Macoli used to be seen as a simple everyday drink, but here it's presented quite differently, more premium, more curated, and part of a wider shift showing how Korean drinks are being enjoyed here in Singapore.
For some customers, this is still a first introduction.
I was on TikTok scrolling, and this came up as one of the recommended Korean place. And I googled it and found that it was a macoli bar, and it was quite interesting. I've never been to a macoli bar before, so I decided to try it.
Words fail me, but it's quite flavorful. It's quite a unique taste, and it doesn't really feel like I'm drinking alcohol, so it's quite good.
That curiosity did not come out of nowhere.
Korean drama shows a lot of drinking culture, not as just a transaction, but as a social ritual. So specific brands and people drinking alongside, it gets all exposed through those dramas. And Singaporeans, Southeast Asians love watching those dramas. So it gave that legitimate access to that Korean drinking culture. So the Korean cuisine also became very popular. It's not a niche food anymore in Singapore.
Korea's liquor exports rose in 2023, and the mix is widening beyond just soju. After falling to a pandemic low of $270 million in 2020, Korea's liquor exports jumped roughly 21% in 2023.
Singapore is well known for the great test bed, because once you are getting the recognition in Singapore, it's easier to move to country close to it, like Malaysia, Indonesia, Vietnam, or somewhere around or even to Europe, move to Europe.
And that strategy is already showing up in trade flows. Kati says Korean alcohol exports to Singapore hit $6.1 million in 2024. It's now the 8th largest global destination for Korean spirits by value.
When companies are bringing new things to Singapore, it's oftentimes well experienced, I think, in two ways. First of all, since we're talking about drinks, people are multicultural and their palate is also multicultural. Foundationally, Singaporean consumers grow up navigating Chinese, Malay, Indian, Western food and drinks all simultaneously, and it's also a travel hub. So a lot of people come and go. So that builds a lower barrier to trying new things.
But the category is not only expanding through imports and bottle lists, it's also being mixed behind the bar. Born and raised in South Korea and now based in Singapore, Uno Jang was awarded the Altos Bartender's Bartender Award 2025 as part of the world's 50 best bars. At his new bar in the city's central business district, he's using cocktails, pairings, and ritual to introduce a broader Korean drinking culture, one that goes beyond soju bombs.
I don't believe, just using the Korean ingredient, it become a Korean bar. The ingredient has to be very intentional. My story, my experience, to explain it in the cocktail, I think people will get more exciting.
And for him, that means bringing in not just Korean ingredients, but Korean habits, such as how drinks are paired, shared, and enjoyed.
my experience as a Korean, I grew up with drinking and eating some of the pairings. I want to express that moments as I get it, the memories to our customer.
Green bottle soju may still be the first drink many think of when they think of Korean alcohol. But from craft macoli and traditional rice wines to Korean gin, whiskey, and cocktails, those growing the category here are trying to show there's much more to discover. Shin, CNA, Singapore.